My name is Chitsanzo Isaac, and I am an adjunct lecturer at Jefferson University. I'm going to share some ideas that I did some research on with a colleague of mine called Olitan Awomolo. Over the world, the COVID has shown the vulnerabilities in social and urban structures and systems in communities. And it has also uncovered systemic inequities among many communities due to separation that we all faced. This led to us to pose the question of how public spaces are catalysts for social cohesion and community resilience in Philly within this pandemic that we're experiencing, and how did this cohesion affect a community's ability to rebound from COVID. So during the pandemic, public space became a dynamic place of gathering and of well-being and also civic expression. And this was so important because we did need a place to outlet these feelings and these emotions and this angst that we were holding in. So this led us to view public space under the lens of interculturalism. And this is when you focus on community interaction of people from different backgrounds and shared community memberships. And then we can see better interpersonal contact, creating a sense of belonging within neighborhoods. So because the pandemic safety measures of separation put a strain on mental health, public spaces like parks, plazas, and public playgrounds played a large role in creating much needed opportunities for social interactions. So our research attempted to look at the role of urban space acting as a vehicle for social cohesion and connection. We wanted to see exactly what was the formula that held people together and that let people come together and survive all of this, because we kept hearing that we're all in this together, so we wanted to see what it was. We needed to identify a community which fulfilled the criteria of an intercultural neighborhood within Philadelphia, and that community was chosen off of the race, age, incomes, strong social community ties, and also cohesion. And in the end, we picked Germantown in Northwest Philly. And it showed that it was a very intercultural community because it has a lot of community groups and organizations and Facebook groups. And we had a range of community-led initiatives. And this indicated social cohesion and ties, which we did think were very good to look at. Germantown is a very diverse place, for those of you who haven't been there yet. And it's very diverse ethnically in terms of income and also urban fabric. It's one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city, and it holds a lot of history, and it holds a lot of history of inequity as well. So this was important for us to see because it is racially diverse and integrated, and it has developed its own culture, which was important for us because we used it allowed us to get insights from the community much better. We used community survey and observations to collect our data. And in our data, we made a community inventory of social spaces used in the pandemic. So activated community spaces, community support spaces, and parks and open spaces. So community support spaces were those such as community fridges and pantries, which started to pop up more and more during the pandemic. And we looked at spaces that were used for community gatherings, such as cafes or the free library or parks. And then we chose 3 locations within the neighborhood that we could really observe these happenings. And Vernon Park was chosen because it's the social core of Germantown. It supports community events, and you can really see social cohesion there because that's where people from all different backgrounds come together for whatever they need to do. You have playgrounds and you have sports grounds, and it was very alive during the pandemic. Maplewood Mall is the cultural core of Germantown, and it was an urban regeneration project which had a lot of community input. So there's a lot of ownership of this area, and it's very supportive to the artistic community and grassroots organizations, and very inclusive. Market Square is the historic core of Germantown, and it supports local businesses and gathering spaces, as well as the Germantown Farmers Market, which in itself supports local urban farmers, some who are within Germantown and are in the surrounding areas. So once we got everything together, we came up with 4 findings. And the first was we identified and mapped the public spaces used for connection and interaction. And we discovered that most community members felt a sense of belonging within Germantown from the surveys. And also interaction with their neighbors helped them combat their mental health problems. We also discovered how involved the community was in supporting one another. And most of them took part in food distribution and in COVID awareness and just mobilizing in the community to help those who were vulnerable and who couldn't, who were having problems. The third one was we discovered the importance of third spaces as community activators. And these spaces where are where resilience in the community was identified. And we identify this as not just connection between members, but also the exchange of culture. So we saw this at Uncle Bobby's and the Free Library, for example. And then the largest challenge identified by community members was gentrification and development in that neighborhood. And they saw it as a threat to community membership, as well as a change to their physical space was concerning, especially if they're not part of the process. In conclusion, we found a positive connection between areas with increased public space usage and social cohesion. And moving forward for Philadelphia, for planning for communities like this, it's very important that community resilience be a focus in developing sustainable development strategies because it is really an asset. Thank you very much.